Well, Romain, let's turn back to the earnings reports that we got just a few minutes ago. We're going to start with Intel. And again, to recap the numbers here, revenue came in around $14 billion. The estimate there had been for $14.5 billion. The guidance, though, perhaps that's what's really spooking shares right now. They see adjusted revenue around $10.5 to $11.5 billion. Again, the estimate there was for $13.96 billion, so a big gap. Let's talk about this all with Mandeep Singh. He is senior technology analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence. And I look at the first read in after-hours trading. Intel shares down almost 6%. Seems like this report isn't going over too well.
Well, so some of it was expected that PC volumes, we know, were down over 20% this quarter. So Intel, the fact that they are down almost 36% tells me that they are losing pricing power, as well as their outlook is pretty muted when it comes to the recovery. So a second half recovery, which a lot of people believe is going to take place in semis. Intel numbers doesn't look like that will be the case, although they may be resetting the bar here in terms of, just kind of lowballing expectations.
Well, that's what's interesting here, because we talk about the turnaround that Pat Gelsinger was effectively handed when he took over a couple of years ago, and the idea that, turning around a ship the size of Intel is not something you're just going to do overnight like that.
Yeah.
What we've gotten out of him so far over the last 2 years, what is it telling you about his strategy and, more importantly, what Intel becomes as a company?
Well, so he's trying to fix both the process node, the fab side of the equation, as well as the design side of the equation. Intel is behind on two fronts, and both of them require CapEx. I think he was doing fine up until this downturn in terms of getting government support on the fab side. It's the fact that they're losing in their core PC market, they're losing share. That's not good, and I think that's where you have to assess how much is it share loss to AMD and NVIDIA. The data center numbers were okay, actually, this quarter.
I don't want to get too deep in speculation, but is there a sense that maybe he might be okay with that to a certain extent if there is sort of a longer-term strategy that's going to be much broader than PCs?
Well, so think of the supply chain dynamics here. I mean, we are talking about Taiwan, China every day. If some of those supply chain companies have to move stuff over to the U.S., and Intel is the only fab in town in terms of making those chips, that could be a big positive. Look, it hasn't happened. I mean, you can only guess, if companies would end up doing that, but a partnership, with any of the fabless companies would be a big positive for their fab business, which we haven't seen so far.